I like movies. Probably, probably a little bit more than your average schmuck. That's why I'm doing this series of videos. I call it the Creative Fuel Tank because you simply cannot be creative 100% of the time. Sometimes you just have to kick back, put on something good, and refill the fuel tank. I like movies. But I love television. Like, really love it. Like, autistic special interest level that's shaped my entire life, but also weirdly, despite my chosen creative career path, I have literally less than zero interest in chasing a career in television. Maybe because I would hate to spoil something that I love so deeply. Which by the way is exactly what happened in my present day job creative career, at times making it extraordinarily difficult to come home and pursue my personal creative work. I love television, and I actively work to preserve that feeling. Also, I am exactly that kind of literal-minded person who is incapable of tossing around the word love all willy-nilly like. Other people go around professing their love for this store or that brand, and I'm sitting here all like, the actual fuck is wrong with you? People are so weird. But yeah, I fucking love TV. My name is Crumbine, and this is Emergency Creative, a place where I explore the intersection of creative expression, creative process, and mental health. This creative fuel tank series dives into creative inspiration, but lately I've been feeling the need to be a little more transparent and really dive into why all this shit is so important to me. So, yeah, this is gonna be a bit of a different kind of video. Surprise! Like, you didn't already figure that out from the title, right? If you've watched any of my videos, you're familiar with the autistic subtext, the mental health, my house of cards, brain chemistry, hyper obsessive fixation, my inability to process and filter sounds, all the fucking coping mechanisms. The reason I'm doing this video, being as transparent as I am, is that recently I have been on the receiving end of so much anonymous secondary support from across YouTube in the form of other autistic stories and experiences. And I really feel like it's time to properly uh, properly come out and pay it forward. I have lived in this brain for 40 years now. I've lived some shit. Most of it a single, stressful, triggering, exhausting pain in the fucking ass. And maybe, just maybe, that can be a source of support for someone else. Maybe even you. I don't know. Which, as I sit here thinking about it, that it might actually be part of why I love television so much. Maybe TV is a way to tell complex human stories. It's an opportunity to become deeply familiar and invested with people of all stripes, and a way to humanize the most atypical characteristics. In addition to the fact that television, like YouTube, is a one-to-many broadcast style of communication. I don't have to deal with or decode the superficial bullshit of small talk. Every word in a screenplay has meaning, building clear stories and narrative arcs. Shit just makes sense because that is how it is written. And I am getting way ahead of myself. My mother is not going to watch this, but if she did, she would definitely appreciate what it is I'm about to say, because honestly, even just a few months ago, I would not have ever expected these words to leave my mouth. I got pretty lucky growing up. It was not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, and there was a lot of toxic, fundamental Christian bullshit mixed in. But the more I unpack what it means to have an autistic brain, the more grateful I am for how I was raised. Yeah, I feel real fucking weird saying that. My dad loved television. He spent all his free time in his recliner watching shows. And yes, it was his chair. No one else was allowed to use it. He grew up, likewise, always watching TV. And while that particular trait was never exactly precisely on my ASD radar, almost everything else about that man was on the radar. He was, no lie, he was essential to my own self-discovery, purely accidentally. We lived in Southwest Florida, and my father would never wear shorts. He also pretty much always wore a polo shirt tucked into his pants. Always. He couldn't hold down a job for any particular length of time, and he only found success, emphasis success, running his own floor care company, where he understood and could fully control the entire scope of everything about his business. Sound familiar? The man loved, obsessively, hyperfixatedly loved Coca-Cola. And I remember very vividly how he would drag his entire family out of a restaurant if they only served Pepsi. Yes. If anybody had cared to notice or tried to understand, the signs were all right fucking there. And yes, I am legitimately just scratching the surface because I don't want this video to go on 4 hours. My point is, my dad also loved television, and going on 16 years after his death, I'm starting to understand why. After all, we clearly share the same brain chemistry. And almost everything that I am today came from how he, my father, and my mother raised me. I was homeschooled with my siblings, and because of that isolation, my parents attempted to socialize us by starting an acting and theater group for other homeschoolers.
David, those pilgrims almost look real. Something else looks real too. That turkey. I wish it were. You know, the longer you look at those pilgrims, the more real they seem. I would be a bit surprised if they raised their heads and said hello.
That really awkward gratitude I mentioned earlier, this is what I was talking about. I don't know the trauma I would have endured being autistic in a public school setting, because I never went to public school. I have tasted it since that aforementioned trauma in college and my career in corporate America. Boy, have I fucking tasted it. Yeah. But also, yeah, I truly believe life would have been way harder. Now, don't get me wrong. It was still hard at times, but again, it really could have been much worse. My second point in this very unexpected gratitude tour, and yes, what will bring us back around to television, bear with me, it's about that acting group. On one hand, my parents knew absolutely nothing about acting and theater, and probably had no business teaching kids, especially my very autistic, very inflexible, very quick to anger father. On the other hand, from a very young age, I was given literal scripts to memorize and clear stage directions to follow. It didn't matter if the scripts were good or bad. It didn't matter if the direction was good or bad. These tools for a kid who didn't know how to look at people, who didn't understand why eye contact was so important when words came out of people's mouths, and mouths were easier to look at in order to understand and process the words that they were saying. For a kid who didn't know how to express himself, or even necessarily how to simply emote. These tools, scripts, and stage direction, they had this unintended consequence of giving me the strategies I needed to not only kind of sort of fit into the world, but also how to decode it.
Jordy,
Yeah.
tell everybody what this is.
Huh?
Say, this is my birthday.
This is my birthday.
Tell them how old you are.
6. A smile, Jordan.
Everything is a script. Everywhere I go, everything I do, I put on a character and perform. Guys, this video is a script, and this thing that I'm doing, guys, I'm 40 fucking years old, and I still have no earthly idea who the authentic Jordan Crumbine really, truly is. Is it any wonder that television just makes sense to me? More so than the real world? I think a lot of autistic people maybe can relate to this arrested development life cycle between the homeschooling and the sheltering from the world. It wasn't until I left for college that I actually felt like I was growing up. My 20s felt like my teens, my 30s felt like my 20s, and now I just feel old. And it was that departure from the family home, both physically and emotionally, despite the similarities in our collective brain chemistries, I shared zero values, principles, politics, or any other fundamental commonalities with my family. It was the departure from the family home that truly kicked off my love affair with television. The DNA was always there. Again, it started in that theater group with the scripts and so on and so forth. But it was this college era where I really took notice of it. Maybe also because that's when I started writing and producing my pre-YouTube episodic internet shows, emulating that format I loved so dearly.
Hey, GB! Whoa!
Huh? What? I mean, yes?
What were you... GB, you were playing with yourself!
I was not.
Don't try to deny it.
I'm denying it!
You can't deny it.
I deny. Deny, deny, deny.
For crying out loud, I saw you with my own two...
Your own two what? Eyes? You don't have eyes.
That is beside the point, GB.
No, I think that is the point.
You... Cop!
What? No! No!
What's going on?
I caught GB playing with himself.
He did not. He's lying. He has no eyes.
What? I'm confused.
Good. Now yell at him.
Why?
He was playing with himself.
So?
So yell at him.
It's only natural for GB to play with himself.
What?
He's a game console. That's what he does. It's nothing to be ashamed of.
But with himself?
I'm sure you've played with yourself once or twice when you've gotten lonely.
But not out in the open where anybody could see me.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
What about yesterday in front of the computer?
Or that time in the kitchen.
I saw you in the hall once.
And don't forget about our little rendezvous at the supermarket.
Ah! Listen! This is not about me. This is about him and him playing with himself. Ah! He's doing it again! I wish you would warn us or something when you do that.
You know, that is just a little disturbing.
Or maybe it was the shows themselves. Boston Legal
Cue the music.
debuted the year after I left for college. This is in my top 5 favorite TV shows of all time, if not the number 1 show. Having revisited it recently and being fully worked over by almost every episode, Boston Legal lays out a pretty good hypothesis for why television means so much to me, and my father, for that matter. Yes, Boston Legal has its issues with misogyny, especially in the first few seasons, but I would argue that the broader themes of diversity, neuro and otherwise, acceptance and friendship more than make up for the awkward, although very much sign of the times, early 2000s, patriarchal and misogynistic character traits. Yes, one of one of the show's main supporting characters is Jerry Espenson, who is overtly autistic. Although, again, it is the early 2000s, so it is labeled Asperger's. And yes, Jerry's character means the fucking world to me. Look, my dog is named Jerry, although technically that has just a little bit more to do with one of my own characters than Boston Legal. But hey, the connective tissue, it's there. Jerry Espenson, however, I would argue, isn't what makes Boston Legal so special. That honor belongs to James Spader's Alan Shore. And it is the way Alan Shore engages with, supports, and just fucking champions all of the outright absurd, egregiously left field weirdos this show parades across the screen week after week after week. Not only does Alan display this uncanny level of acceptance, in nearly every episode, he gets on his fucking soapbox. One time it was an actual soapbox, and he defends in a court of law their right to be treated like decent human beings.
You know, Marissa, not smiling has its benefits. You don't give away your thoughts so easily. It's a great advantage in card playing.
That's funny, but I'd rather fit in.
Have you ever heard of a Greek philosopher named Epictetus?
No.
He was a funny man with a certain flair for life. Epictetus compared people who fit in to the white threads of a toga, indistinguishable. He wanted to be the purple thread, that small part which is bright and makes all the rest appear graceful and beautiful. Why then, he asked, do you tell me to make myself like the many? And if I do, how shall I still be purple?
Sometimes being purple is kind of a pain.
Yes.
So, I gotta ask. What is it we really want in a friendship, in a relationship? What is it we want from basic human connection? I'm genuinely asking because, again, 40 years old and I am still trying to figure this shit out. But here is my guess. We want to be seen. We want to be validated. We want to relate. We want to commiserate. And we do these things through shared values, principles, politics, or any fundamental commonalities. We don't need all of those things, but yeah, we need one or some. I left home equipped with a passion for creating stories, for creating videos. I stepped into the real world with only an instinctual compulsion for needing everything scripted and the ability to mask and perform. Look at me as I perform. I left behind a family that I struggled to find any kind of connection with. And suddenly I was desperate to be seen, to be validated, to relate, to commiserate. Or maybe it was always there, but finally stepping away and going to college threw that into sharp relief. I made a friend or two or three in college. Nobody that I have any contact with today. Suffice to say, college was not an ideal environment for me. Is what it is. But at my college era home, with my television, I found some of the best friends an autistic guy or any person could ever want. Alan Shore got me. Dr. Cox from Scrubs was the father figure I never knew I needed.
Turns out, whatever you know about medicine, ultimately, luck or fate or God or who knows what, is always going to end up playing a much bigger role in the whole thing than you and I ever will. Hell, it was lucky you were watching that show the other night, and it was unlucky that your patient went the other way, even though you did absolutely everything right. And for the record, you did. I was looking over your shoulder every step of the way.
Thanks.
One favor, newbie. It was my job.
The crew from Sports Night showed me what it meant to have ideals, to pursue those ideals in professional environments, and what it looked like to actually live up to those ideals, fictionalized version or whatever. To see it executed in that Aaron Sorkin verbal poetry that a lot of neurotypicals criticize and simply don't understand, but to my ears, Sports Night, West Wing, Studio 60, it is literally music. Again, to my ears, how my ears and my brain interpret the sound of Aaron Sorkin dialogue. It is literally music to me.
Hey. Hey, Sam. How's it going? It's going fine. I'm sorry. Is it Jim Bob? JJ. Really? Yeah. I thought it was Jim Bob. No. Take a walk with me, will you? Where? It's a surprise. You guys know who Philo Farnsworth was? Philo Farnsworth? Yeah. And what's going on? He invented television. I don't mean he invented television like Uncle Milty. I mean, he invented the television in a little house in Provo, Utah, at a time when the idea of transmitting moving pictures through the air would be like me saying I figured out a way to beam us aboard the Starship Enterprise. Yeah, look, he was a visionary. He died broke and without fanfare. The guy I really liked, though, was his brother-in-law, Cliff Gardner. He said, Philo, I know everyone thinks you're crazy, but I want to be a part of this. I don't have your head for science, so I'm not going to be able to help much with the design and the mechanics of the invention, but it sounds like you're going to need glass tubes.
JJ, I don't
You see,
think
Philo was inventing the cathode receptor, and even though Cliff didn't know what that meant or how it worked, he'd seen Philo's drawing, and he knew he was going to need glass tubes. And since television hadn't been invented yet, it's not like you could get them at the local TV repair shop. I want to be a part of this, Cliff said. I don't have your head for science. How would it be if I were to teach myself to be a glass blower and I could set up a little shop in the backyard and I could make all the tubes you'll need for testing? There ought to be congressional medals for people like that.
Maybe so.
I've looked over the notes you've been giving over the last year or so, and I have to say they exhibit an almost total lack of understanding of how to get the best from talented people.
Excuse me, but
You said before that for whatever reason I seem to be able to exert some authority around here. I assure you, it's not because they like me. It's because they knew 2 minutes after I walked in the door, I'm someone who knows how to do something. I can help. I can make glass tubes. That's what they need. One last thing. The first and last decision-making authority on this show will rest with Isaac Jaffe until Isaac Jaffe says otherwise. And if you disrespect him in my presence again, I will rededicate the rest of my life to ruining the rest of yours. And if you think I'm just mouthing at you, you should ask around about me. I have absolutely no conscience about these things.
Sam, why did you bring us out here?
Because there's the exit. That's it. The meeting's over.
Later, when I finally gave myself permission to dive into Star Trek, I discovered my space mommy in Captain Janeway, my space daddy in Captain Sisko, and my older brother trying to figure out all of the same shit I was trying to figure out in Odo.
You are in a bad mood today.
I don't have moods.
Of course not. You're an unfeeling changeling. All you care about is order.
That's right.
Oh, please. I know what's going on. You don't have to pretend with me.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You're in love with her.
Who?
Kira.
Guys, Deep Space Nine, this show ended up having such a huge impact on my life. And this was recently, like within the last 5 years. It was such a big impact that I wrote it into my novel, Don't Be a Monster Dick. Check it out. Links are in the description, I guess. There are countless other shows and characters, but recently it's been Bob's Burgers. And look, you do not need me to spell it out. There is already so much Bob's Burgers discourse, beautiful Bob's Burgers discourse on YouTube, but I think you can begin to see how impactful it was to this autistic brain to see such a loving family full of the weirdest, neurodiverse people constantly going out of their way to support and care for each other. Literally the exact opposite of my own lived experience and the very thing that I unconsciously craved for so long. I love television because television gives me the love, acceptance, logic, and structure that I crave. Television validates and accepts me. Television is and has always been there for me. It's funny. I had the worst relationship with my father. We did not get along. I cannot even say if there was any genuine love there. And, 16 years after his death, I think I might know him better than he may have ever known himself. Television was and is our safe space. It's where we go when our brains need to rest and recharge, when we simply cannot fathom to deal with the real world. For some of us, maybe a lot of us, television is where we find the things we crave from a world that is just too incompatible. But television, all those scripts, those structured narrative arcs, those characters we spend sometimes years getting to know in the most safe and comfortable ways. Of course I love television. How could I not? Like I said, this was a weird one. So if you watched the whole thing, thank you. Sincerely, I appreciate you, well, slightly more than I appreciate Alan Shore on Boston Legal, which, if you've been following, is saying a lot. Like and subscribe if you like liking and subscribing. Tell me in the comments about your favorite TV show, or how you have found validation and support in your favorite TV show. I would love to hear about it. Until next time, stay creative, friends.